The millionaire's sons were blind, until the cleaner was about to be fired and did something that changed everything. Emma Thompson never imagined that her last day working at the Anderson mansion would change everything forever. After 3 years cleaning that enormous house in Bel Air, Los Angeles, she had received the dismissal notice the previous morning, but something very strange was about to happen. It was when she heard the noise of the little ones stumbling in the second-floor hallway. Ethan and Noah, the 7-year-old twins of businessman Robert Anderson, had lived in a controlled routine since they were born. Diagnosed as completely blind since infancy, the children spent most of their time in their dark rooms, always guided by the hands of the housekeeper, Mrs. Wilson. Emma stopped putting her cleaning supplies away in the hall closet and paid attention. The boys were coming down the stairs whispering as they always did. She smiled fondly. All these years, they had been the only presence that made that cold house a little more welcoming. Always polite, always quiet, always... The bottle of detergent slipped from her hands and hit the marble floor with a dull thud. Emma bent down to pick up the product, but something made her stop mid-movement. Ethan and Noah, who were walking slowly with their hands on the walls, turned their heads exactly toward the noise. It wasn't a vague or approximate movement. It was precise. Her heart raced. In 3 years working in that house, she had never paid attention to that kind of detail. The boys always reacted to sounds, but she always thought that was normal for blind people. But that movement was different. It was as if they had seen. Emma stood still, watching. Noah touched his brother's arm and pointed in her direction. Pointed, with his index finger straight to where she was. "Aunt Emma," Ethan called softly. "Did you drop something?" She swallowed hard. How did he know she was there? She hadn't made any noise besides the bottle falling. She hadn't said anything. She hadn't... "Boys, what are you doing there?" The housekeeper. Margaret's gruff voice echoed from upstairs. "Return to your rooms immediately." The twins got scared and ran toward the stairs, but Emma noticed something that made her legs go weak. They didn't feel their way. They didn't use their hands on the walls. They ran straight, as if they knew exactly where they were going. "Mrs. Wilson," Emma called, her voice coming out louder than intended. "Can I speak with you for a minute?" The housekeeper came down the stairs with heavy steps. Margaret Wilson had been in the house for more than 8 years, since before the boys were born. She was the one who handled all the children's medical matters, took them to specialists, administered their medications. A woman in her early 50s, always serious, always controlling everything. "Emma, shouldn't you be packing your things? Mr. Robert was very clear yesterday. Today is your last day." "I know, Mrs. Wilson, but I need to ask you something about the boys." "The boys are none of your business. They never were. You're a cleaner, not a nanny." The sharpness in Margaret's voice had always bothered Emma, but today there was something different. There was a tension, almost like fear. "I saw something strange just now." Ethan and Noah. "Saw what?" Margaret interrupted too quickly. "They don't see anything, Emma. How could they have seen something?" Emma noticed the slip. She hadn't said they saw something, only that it had been strange. "I didn't say they saw. I said it was strange. They reacted to the noise of the bottle falling in a way." Auditory reflex. Blind people develop other senses. There's nothing unusual about that. But Margaret was already going up the stairs in a hurry. Emma stood there, her heart still racing, trying to process what had just happened. That afternoon, as she finished cleaning the main room, she couldn't stop thinking about the morning's episode. She decided to observe more carefully. Whenever the boys passed through any part of the house, she paid attention to every movement. During afternoon snack time, Margaret brought Ethan and Noah into the kitchen. As always, she guided them by their hands to the chairs. Emma was cleaning the counter nearby, pretending to be focused on her work. "Be careful with the glass, Ethan," Margaret said, placing the milk in front of the boy. But Emma saw that Margaret didn't put the glass in his hand. She just left it on the table. And Ethan reached his hand directly for the glass without feeling around the table searching for it, as if he knew exactly where it was. She felt a chill run down her spine. Noah dropped a piece of bread on the floor. Margaret didn't see. She had her back turned, preparing another snack. The boy glanced quickly at the housekeeper, checking if she wasn't looking, and then bent down and picked up the bread right off the floor. Without feeling around, without searching, directly. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to leave a like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. Emma felt the world spin. She needed to be sure of what she was seeing. She waited for Margaret to leave the kitchen to fetch something else and approached the boys. "Hi, my darlings," she whispered. "Aunt Emma is leaving today." "We know," Ethan replied softly. "We heard Mrs. Wilson talking to Dad yesterday. Are you going to miss your aunt?" "A lot," Noah said, and for the first time in 3 years, he looked directly into her eyes. For a second, just a second. But he looked. Emma's blood ran cold. She was sure now, absolutely sure. "Noah," she whispered even lower, "can you see your aunt?" The boy went very quiet, very scared. He looked at his brother with desperation. "Can't say that," Miguel whispered, his eyes filled with tears. "Mrs. Wilson said bad things happen if we say that." "What kind of bad things?" "She said Dad will get very angry and that we'll have to leave home. She said we have to pretend we don't see anything, otherwise—" "Ethan, Noah!" Margaret's voice echoed from the hallway. "Where are you?" The boys panicked. Ethan grabbed his brother's arm and they both ran out of the kitchen. But before leaving, Noah turned back and made a desperate gesture to Emma, putting his finger to his lips. Silence. Emma stood still in the kitchen, her hands trembling. What was happening in that house? Why did 2 7-year-old children have to pretend they were blind? And why was Margaret forcing this? She thought of Robert Anderson, the boy's father, a successful businessman who worked late hours and traveled constantly. A widower since the boys were 2 years old, he had practically outsourced raising the children to Margaret. Emma barely saw him at home. When he appeared, he always seemed tired, stressed, treating his children with a sadness she never knew where it came from. Did he know? Was he involved in this lie? Emma made a decision that would change everyone's life in that house. She took her cell phone from her pocket and opened the camera. If she was really leaving, at least she would leave some record of what was happening to those children. For the rest of the afternoon, she discreetly recorded several moments. Ethan picking up a toy that was on the table without feeling around, Noah avoiding a chair that was in the way, the two of them going up the stairs without using the handrail. Each video was proof of what she was sure of. Those boys were not blind. At 5 in the afternoon, as always, Robert Anderson arrived from work. Emma was finishing vacuuming the living room rug when she heard him talking with Margaret in the office. "Are the tests for next week scheduled?" he asked. "Yes, Mr. Robert. Dr. Harrison said it's important to keep up with regular follow-ups. The boy's condition could worsen without constant care." "And the medications?" "I'm giving them exactly as always. The eye drops 3 times a day, the pills at night. They don't even complain anymore." Emma stopped vacuuming. Eye drops. What kind of eye drops would 2 blind children need? And pills for what? "Margaret, sometimes I wonder, were they born like this? I remember my wife being worried in the first month, saying they reacted to light. Mr. Robert, please, let's not relive that pain. You know very well what the doctors said. The blindness developed gradually in the first few years. Your wife was in denial. It's normal for mothers to go through that." "Yeah, you're right. Sorry to bring this up again. You need to trust me. I've been taking care of the boys for 8 years, since before they were born. I know what's best for them." Emma turned off the vacuum. There was something very wrong with that conversation. Margaret spoke with a strange authority, almost as if she were the one in charge of the house, and Robert seemed submissive, as if he were afraid to question her. She finished her work and prepared to leave. But she couldn't leave without making one last attempt. She needed to show Robert what she had discovered. She knocked on the office door. "Mr. Robert, can I speak with you for a minute? It's about the boys." Margaret quickly rose from the chair where she was sitting. "Emma, weren't you dismissed? Aren't your things ready?" "Yes, Mrs. Wilson, but I need to show something important to Mr. Robert." "If it's about work, you can talk to me. I handle everything concerning the house." "It's not about work," Emma said, looking directly at Robert. "It's about Ethan and Noah." Robert looked up from his papers for the first time. "What about my sons?" Margaret tried to step between them, but Emma was faster. "Mr. Robert, with all due respect, but I need to show you some things I filmed today, about the boys. You filmed my sons." Robert's voice came out louder. "Who gave you that permission?" "Sir, I know it seems wrong, but please, just look at the videos, it's important." Margaret was visibly nervous now. "Robert, I don't think—" "Margaret, let her speak," he interrupted, for the first time with authority in his voice. "Emma, show me what you have." Emma opened the first video on her phone. It was Ethan picking up the toy right from the table without fumbling. "That doesn't prove anything," Margaret said quickly. "He knows the house. He knows where things are." Emma moved to the second video. Noah dodging the chair. Blind children develop other senses, as I explained to her earlier today. But in the third video it was too clear to deny. Both boys climbing the stairs looking directly at the steps, not using the handrail, not fumbling, walking with the confidence of someone who sees perfectly. Robert was silent for long seconds. His hands began to tremble. "Margaret, what is this?" "Robert, don't believe some random employee. These videos could be edited, they could—" "Margaret," he shouted, rising from his chair. "What the hell is going on here?" Emma showed the last video, the most shocking of all. Noah looking directly at the camera and making the shushing gesture with his finger. Robert turned white. Completely white. My sons can see?" Margaret tried to leave the office, but he grabbed her arm. "You're not leaving here until you explain to me what the hell is going on with my sons." "Robert, you're being influenced by a dismissed employee who wants to cause trouble." "Emma," Robert turned to her, his voice trembling. "Are you sure about what you're showing me?" "Yes, sir, I am. I talked to them today. They told me that Mrs. Wilson ordered them to pretend they don't see. They said that if they told the truth, something bad would happen." Robert released Margaret and approached Emma. "Did they say that? In those exact words?" "Yes, sir, they did. They're very scared. Very, very scared." Robert looked at Margaret with an expression Emma had never seen before. It was anger, but also pain, a lot of pain. "Margaret, we are going upstairs right now, and you are going to explain to me everything that is happening with my children. Everything." The three of them went up to the second floor. The boys were in their rooms as always, rooms that were in semi-darkness, with heavy curtains always closed. Robert opened the door to the room where Ethan and Noah were playing quietly on the floor. "Boys, come here." The children stood up and walked toward their father, but this time Robert paid attention to every movement. They didn't feel their way. They didn't stumble. They walked straight. "Ethan, Noah, look at your daddy." "They can't look, Robert," Margaret said. "You know that." "I said for you to look at your daddy," he repeated, ignoring Margaret. The boys looked at each other in desperation. Emma saw the fear in their eyes. "Nothing bad is going to happen," she whispered. "You can look at your daddy." Slowly, very slowly, Ethan raised his eyes and looked directly at Robert. The man broke down. He literally collapsed onto the floor, on his knees, sobbing. My son, you can see me?" Ethan started to cry too. "Daddy, we couldn't tell. Mrs. Wilson said that something bad would happen if you told—" Robert finished, still crying. "Noah, can you see me too?" Noah nodded his head, tears streaming down his face. "How long have you been able to see?" "Always, Daddy," Ethan whispered. "We could always see." Robert turned to Margaret with a fury that even scared Emma. 8 years. For 8 years you made me believe my sons were blind. 8 years of suffering, of guilt, of— "Robert, let me explain." "No, I don't want to hear any explanation. I want to know why you did this to my sons, why you destroyed their lives." Margaret realized there was no way out anymore. She sat on one of the children's beds, defeated. "Because you killed my sister." Silence took over the room. Emma held the boys' hands, who were terrified by the argument. "What did you say?" "You heard me perfectly well. You killed Jennifer. And these boys are the living proof of what you did." Robert turned white again. "Margaret, Jennifer died in childbirth, from complications. The doctors. The doctors you paid to lie. Jennifer died because you didn't want to pay for the private hospital from the start. She stayed in that filthy public hospital until she couldn't take it anymore. When you finally decided to spend your money on her, it was already too late. That's not true. I loved Jennifer. You loved her so much that you spent the entire pregnancy traveling for work, so much that she stayed here alone crying every night, afraid of having complications and you not even being in the country. Emma began to understand the situation. Margaret was Robert's sister-in-law, sister of the wife he had lost during the twins' birth. So you decided to take revenge on the boys? Robert asked, incredulous. I decided that you were going to suffer like my sister suffered, that you were going to carry a burden for the rest of your life, that these boys were going to be a constant reminder of what you did. Margaret, they are children, innocent children. And my sister was innocent too, but she died anyway. Dear listener, if you are enjoying the story, please take a moment to like the video and especially to subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. Robert was trying to process everything he was hearing. But the doctor, the tests, the reports. Dr. Harrison is my ex-husband's cousin. He wrote the reports I told him to write. The eye drops I gave the boys caused irritation, making them shut their eyes whenever there was bright light. The pills made them drowsy, keeping them always quiet and controlled. Emma felt nauseous. That woman had been poisoning 2 children for years. And when they were babies, I kept them always in the dark. Always. Since they were born. They got used to living like that. When they grew a bit and started to show they could see, I threatened them. Said that if they told anyone, you would send them away. That no one would believe them anyway. That I was the only person in the world who cared for them. Ethan and Noah were hugging each other, crying softly. Emma knelt and hugged them. My darlings, nothing bad will happen to you. Daddy is here now. Robert approached his sons, still in shock. Boys, forgive your daddy. Forgive your daddy for not noticing, for not protecting you. Daddy, Noah spoke for the first time since the argument started. We were so scared, so very scared. Scared of what, son? Mrs. Wilson said that if we told, you would get angry and send us to a place where no one would take care of us. Said we would end up on the streets. Robert hugged both sons, crying. Never, never in my life would I do that to you. You are everything I have. Helena tried to get up from the bed, but Robert stopped her. You are not leaving here. Emma, can you call the police? Mr. Robert? Emma interrupted. Before calling the police, wouldn't it be better to take the boys to a real doctor? See if they're okay, if those medicines didn't cause any harm? Robert realized she was right. You're right. Helena, you will give me the names of all the doctors involved in this, all of them, and you will explain exactly everything you gave my sons over these years. I won't say a thing. You can arrest me. Helena. Robert approached her, his voice low and dangerous. If any of those medicines caused permanent damage to my sons, I swear to God you will pay for every second of suffering they went through. Emma saw the situation was escalating too fast. Mr. Robert, how about leaving Mrs. Wilson here in her room and going with the boys to the hospital right now? They need to be examined. But Ethan held his father's hand. Daddy, is Aunt Emma leaving? Robert looked at Emma for the first time, really paying attention to her. Emma, you saved my sons. How can I thank you? No need to thank me, sir. I just want the boys to be okay. No, you don't understand. You saved my sons. If you hadn't noticed, they would have kept living in that hell for the rest of their lives. Noah broke free from his father's hug and ran to Emma. Aunt Emma, please, don't go. We like you so much. Ethan ran too. You're the only person who was always nice to us. Please stay. Emma looked at Robert. Sir, I was fired yesterday. Mrs. Wilson said you didn't need my services anymore. Robert closed his eyes. Helena, you fired Emma? She was asking too many questions about the children. She was dangerous. Emma, Robert turned to her. Do you want to stay? Not as a cleaner. As the boy's caregiver? As part of the family? Sir, I'm not trained to take care of children. But you have heart. And you're the one who saved them when even their own father couldn't see what was happening. Ethan and Noah hugged her legs. Please, Aunt Emma. She looked at those two children who had spent their whole lives living a lie and couldn't say no. All right, I'll stay. Robert smiled for the first time since she had met him. Now let's go to the hospital. Helena, you will stay here, and don't even think about leaving this house. At the hospital, the situation was more complicated than they expected. The on-call doctor was shocked by the story Robert told. Mr. Anderson, this is very serious. I'll need to run several tests on the children, and we'll probably have to involve social services. Doctor, I understand. Do whatever is necessary. I just want to know if my children are okay. The tests took hours. Emma stayed with the boys throughout the entire process, holding their hands, singing softly to calm them when they got frightened by the equipment. When they were finally released, it was already dawn. The doctor called Robert aside for a private conversation. Mr. Anderson, your children are physically fine. Their vision is perfect. But emotionally, they're going to need psychological support. What happened to them was a very serious form of abuse. Doctor, will they be okay? With time, care, and lots of love, yes. But it will be a long process. They lived 7 years believing they had to hide who they really were. That causes deep trauma. On the drive back home, the boys fell asleep in the back seat of the car. Emma sat beside them, watching their little faces finally relaxed. Emma, Robert said, driving slowly, I need to apologize to you. Apologize for what, sir? For 3 years you worked in my house and I barely knew your name. Meanwhile, you knew my children better than I did. You took care of them, talked with them, sang to them. Mr. Robert, you worked very hard. I understand. No, you don't understand. I ran away. After my wife died, I ran away from the responsibility of being a father. I threw everything into Margaret's hands and pretended everything was fine. Emma fell silent. She didn't know what to say. You know why I really believed they were blind? He continued. Because it was easier. It was easier to believe they had a physical problem than to admit the problem was me. It was easier to pay for doctors and medicine than to sit on the floor and play with them. But you can change that now. Can I? Do you think they'll forgive me? Emma looked at Ethan and Noah sleeping. They love you. They always have. I saw that every day for 3 years. They would wait by their bedroom window for you to come home. They always asked me what time Daddy was coming back. Robert stopped the car in the middle of the street and began to cry. I destroyed my children's lives, Emma. I failed as a father in the worst way possible. You didn't destroy anything. You were deceived by a very wicked person. But now you know the truth, and you can start over. How? How do I start over after 8 years? Emma thought for a moment. You've already started. You're here in the car with them. You went to the hospital. You're caring. That's already a beginning. When they got home, Margaret was gone. She had disappeared, taking only a few clothes with her. She left a note on the kitchen table. You will never understand the pain I feel, but now you will understand what it's like to be afraid for your children. Robert crumpled the note. Emma, can you sleep here tonight? In the guest room? I don't want to leave the boys alone. Of course, sir. They carried Ethan and Noah to their room, still sleeping. For the first time in years, Robert opened the curtains. The moonlight gently filled the room. They've never seen the night sky, he murmured. They've never seen the stars. They'll see them tomorrow, Emma said, and every day after that. The next morning, Emma woke to the sound of giggles coming from downstairs. She went down and found Robert in the kitchen with the boys, trying to make pancakes and making a mess. Good morning, Aunt Emma, Ethan shouted, running to her. Daddy is trying to make breakfast. Noah was laughing, pointing at his father who had spilled flour on the floor. Daddy doesn't know how to cook, he said between giggles. Robert smiled with flour in his hair. I'm learning. There's a lot I need to learn about being a father. During the following weeks, life in the Anderson household changed completely. Robert cancelled several work trips to stay with the children. Emma moved into the house permanently, taking the room that used to belong to the housekeeper. But the adjustment wasn't easy. The boys had panic attacks when there was too much light. They cried at night, having nightmares about Margaret coming back to get them. Sometimes they pretended to be blind again, afraid that someone might discover they could see. Aunt Emma? Ethan asked one afternoon while they played in the garden. Why was Mrs. Wilson so mean to us? Emma stopped pushing the swing where Noah was sitting. Sometimes when people suffer a great deal, they become angry at people who had nothing to do with their suffering. But we never did anything bad to her. No, my dear, you didn't do anything. You never did. Noah jumped off the swing. Aunt, do you think we're going to be okay? I'm sure of it. You are very strong. And now you have your dad and me to take care of you. And Dad won't travel anymore? He said he'll only travel if you can come along, that he'll never leave you alone again. The therapy sessions began the following week. Dr. Rachel was a specialist in childhood trauma and was deeply moved by the boy's story. Mr. Anderson, she said after the first appointment, your children are very resilient, but they will need a great deal of patience. The healing process will be long. Doctor, will they be able to have a normal life? Yes, they will. But you need to understand that they experienced a very specific type of psychological abuse. They were forced to deny a fundamental part of who they were. That causes deep wounds to their identity. What can I do? Keep being present, keep showing unconditional love, and most importantly, let them be children. They lost their childhood. Now it's time to get it back. At home, Robert followed the doctor's advice. He turned the office into a playroom. He bought storybooks, games, bicycles, everything the boys had never been allowed to have. Daddy, Noah asked one night as Robert was reading a bedtime story, why can't we tell anyone what happened? You can tell, son, anyone you want to. But what if people don't believe us? Then those people don't deserve to be in your lives. Ethan sat up in bed. Daddy, at the new school, can we say that we can see? Robert smiled. Of course you can. You will never have to hide who you are again. School was another challenge. Emma went with the boys on their first day, along with Robert. The principal had been informed about the children's special situation. Boys, she said, kneeling down to their level. If any classmate asks about you having worn dark glasses before, or about having used a cane, you don't have to explain anything if you don't want to. And if we want to explain? Ethan asked. Then you explain. You decide what you want to share with others. During recess, several children approached the twins curiously. Are you brothers? We're twins, Noah answered, smiling. Weren't you blind before? Ethan and Noah looked at each other. It was the first time someone had asked them that question directly. We were never blind, Ethan said with a confidence that surprised everyone. A bad person made us pretend we were. Why? Because she was angry with our dad. But everything is fine now. Emma watched the scene from a distance, her eyes filled with tears. They were able to talk about what happened without fear. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing, but it wasn't all sunshine and roses. 3 months later, Margaret reappeared. It was on a Saturday afternoon. Emma was in the garden with the boys when she heard the doorbell. Through the glass door, she saw Margaret standing on the porch. Her blood ran cold. Boys, run inside now. Why, Aunt Emma? Run. Call your dad. Ethan and Noah heard the panic in her voice and ran into the house. Emma locked the door and called Robert, who was in the home office. Mr. Robert, Margaret is here. What do you mean she's there? At the front door, the boys are with me in the living room. Don't open the door, I'm coming down. Margaret kept ringing the doorbell insistently. When Robert appeared in the living room, she started banging on the door. Robert, open this door, I need to talk to you. Dad, I'm scared, Noah whispered, hiding behind Emma. Nothing's going to happen, son. She's not coming in here. Robert approached the door, but didn't open it. Margaret, go away. You're not welcome here. Robert, I came to apologize. I know I was wrong. Give me a chance to explain. You had 8 years to explain. Now it's too late. Robert, please, I was the only family you had. I took care of your children when you couldn't. You tormented my children. You destroyed their childhood. Emma saw that Ethan was starting to tremble. The boy was having an anxiety attack. Mr. Robert, Ethan isn't doing well. He turned and saw his son hyperventilating. Son, breathe slowly. Margaret isn't coming in here. You're safe. I want her to go away, Ethan shouted. I don't want to pretend I'm blind anymore. Margaret heard the boys shout and stopped banging on the door. Ethan, it's Mrs. Wilson. Open the door to talk to your aunt. You're not my aunt, Noah shouted too. You're mean, you hurt us. The silence outside was instant. Robert took the opportunity to call the security of the condominium. Hello? There's a woman at my door who's disturbing the peace. Can you come remove her from here? 20 minutes later, Margaret was taken away by security, but before getting into the car, she shouted one last thing. Robert, you still don't know everything. Ask Emma how old she is. Ask where she studied. Robert and Emma looked at each other. What did she mean by that? He asked. I don't know, sir. She must be trying to cause trouble again. But the seed of doubt had been planted. That night, after the boys went to sleep, Robert called Emma to talk in the office. Emma, I need to ask you something. Of course, sir. Margaret said something strange today about your age and where you studied. Is there something you haven't told me? Emma took a deep breath. She knew this moment would come someday. Mr. Robert, yes, a few things. His heart raced. What kind of things? I have a college degree. I graduated in education from UCLA. I also have a postgraduate degree in educational psychology. Robert was speechless. So, why were you working as a cleaner? Because my mother has been sick for 4 years. She has Alzheimer's. She needs special care, expensive medicine, a caregiver to stay with her during the day. I couldn't pay for all that on a teacher's salary. Emma. When I saw the ad to work here as a housekeeper, the salary was 3 times more than what I made teaching. So I accepted, even knowing it was a waste of my education. And why did you never tell me this? Because I was just the cleaner, sir. You barely spoke to me. How was I going to come and talk about my education? Robert felt even worse. For 3 years, an educator had been taking care of his children, and he didn't even know. Emma, is there anything else? Yes, about your children. What about them? During these 3 years, even thinking they were blind, I always tried to stimulate them in different ways. I sang educational songs, told stories, played games that develop reasoning, all with their visual disability in mind. And they are very intelligent, sir, very much so. More than the average children their age. What Margaret did was terrible, but she couldn't affect their intellectual capacity. How do you know that? Because I observed, every day, the way they solved problems, how they memorized things, how they made connections between ideas. They have incredible potential. Robert fell silent for long minutes. Emma, do you want to continue here as a caregiver, or do you prefer to go back to teaching? Sir, I want to stay with Ethan and Noah. They've been through so much suffering. I want to help them recover completely. Then I have a proposal. You stay here, but as their private tutor, with a specialized educator's salary, and I'll pay for all your mother's treatment. Emma was speechless. Sir, that's too much. Emma, you saved my children. Literally saved them. Let me repay you in some way. But sir, I didn't save them expecting a reward. I know. That's exactly why you deserve it. The following month, life in the Anderson household settled into a new routine. Emma developed a personalized educational program for Ethan and Noah, focusing not only on academic development, but also on emotional recovery. They created schedules for outdoor play, to explore things they had never seen before. They went to the zoo, the planetarium, the movies. Each new experience was an amazing discovery for them. Aunt Emma, Ethan said one afternoon after returning from the aquarium, how do fish live underwater? Because they have gills instead of lungs, remember? Like I explained there? And why don't they drown? Because the gills filter the oxygen that's dissolved in the water. Noah approached, curious too. What about sharks? Do they breathe the same? Yes, they do. All fish breathe the same basic way. But why are some big and some small? Emma smiled. Their curiosity was endless. For years they had been deprived of knowledge about the world, and now they wanted to know everything. Do you want to research this? We can do a project on marine life. Yes, both said together. Robert came home from work and found the three of them at the kitchen table, surrounded by books and drawings of fish. "What are you doing?" "Daddy, Aunt Emma is teaching us about fish," Noah explained excitedly. "Did you know there's a fish that glows in the dark?" "Really? How interesting." "And there's one that's almost transparent," Ethan added. "Look here in the book." Robert sat with them. For the first time in years, he was truly present. Not thinking about work, not worried about other things, just there with his children. "Aunt Emma, can Daddy do the project with us?" Ethan asked. "Of course he can if he wants to." "Daddy, do you want to?" Noah asked hopefully. "Of course I do." They spent the rest of the evening researching, drawing, creating a display about marine life. It was the first time Robert saw his children completely free, just being curious and happy children, but there were still challenges ahead. 2 weeks later, Dr. Rachel called Robert for a private conversation after the session with the boys. "Mr. Anderson, I need to talk about a delicate matter." "What is it, Doctor?" "The boys told me that sometimes they still pretend to be blind when they get scared or anxious. It's a defense mechanism they developed. Is that normal?" "It's understandable, but it needs to be addressed. They associate blindness with safety, because that's how they survived for years. When they feel threatened, they revert to that state. What can I do?" Patience. And most importantly, never force them to see when they don't want to. Let them decide when they're ready to use their vision in each situation. "Doctor, will they fully recover?" "Well, Mr. Anderson, your sons suffered a very specific kind of trauma, but they have something very powerful on their side: love. The love you're giving them now, the safe environment you've created. That's the best medicine." Robert returned home calmer, but determined to help his sons in the best way possible. That night at bedtime, Ethan approached him. "Daddy, can I ask you something?" "Of course, son. Did Mommy know that we could see?" The question took Robert by surprise. The boys rarely talked about their mother. "What do you mean?" "Mrs. Wilson always said that Mommy got sick because of us, that she found out we were lying about being blind and got sad." Robert felt anger rising. Even after months, he was still discovering new cruelties that Margaret had inflicted. "Ethan, that's not true. Mommy never knew about you pretending to be blind because you never pretended for her. She died when you were still little babies." "Then why did Mrs. Wilson say that?" "Because she wanted you to feel guilty. She wanted you to suffer." Noah appeared in the bedroom doorway. "Daddy, would Mommy have liked us if she were alive?" Robert pulled both sons into a hug. "My boys, Mommy loved you more than anything in the world. She died trying to bring you into this world. Her last thought was about you." "How do you know?" "Because I was there. And her last words were, 'Take good care of our boys.'" Ethan and Noah were quiet for a while. "Daddy," Noah said softly, "we wish we could have known Mommy." "I wish that too, son, but she's always with you in a special way." "How?" "You have her smile, her kindness, her intelligence. Every good thing you do, it's a little piece of Mommy living through you." The boys hugged their father tighter. "Daddy, we love you." "I love you too," more than words can say. 6 months after the day Emma discovered the truth about the boys, the Anderson family was completely transformed. Robert had restructured his company to work more from home. The boys were attending a regular school and doing very well academically. Emma had become not just their educator, but a real part of the family. And Emma's mother, Mrs. Patterson, had also improved significantly with the new treatment Robert was funding. It was on a Sunday afternoon that Ethan asked a question that changed everything once again. "Aunt Emma, why did you never get married?" "Why are you asking that, my love?" "Because you take care of us like you were our mother, and you take care of Daddy too." Emma was embarrassed. "Ethan, I just take care of you because I care about you very much." "But do you care about Daddy too?" Noah asked. "Yes, I do. Like a friend cares for a friend." The boys looked at each other with that look of someone who was plotting something. "Aunt Emma, Daddy gets sad when you're not home." "How do you know that?" "Because we see it. When you go visit your mother on the weekend, Daddy stares out the window until you come back." Emma felt her heart race. Boys, you're imagining things. No, Aunt, we really see it. And you act different too when you're near Daddy. Different how? Happier, Ethan said simply. You smile more. That night, after the boys had fallen asleep, Emma couldn't stop thinking about their conversation. Could it be true that she felt something different for Robert? And did he feel something for her? Over the past few months, they had become true partners in raising the boys. They talked about everything, laughed together, sometimes stayed up late planning activities for Ethan and Noah. There was an intimacy she hadn't realized was developing. The next morning, Robert called her to talk in his office. Emma, I need to tell you something. Her heart raced. Of course, sir. Of course. Would you stop calling me sir? After everything we've been through together, I think we can be less formal. She smiled. All right, Robert. Emma, I need to be honest with you about something. Over the past few months, you've become much more than just the boys' educator. What do you mean? You've become essential to them and to me. And I can no longer imagine our life without you. Emma felt her face grow warm. Robert, I too. Let me finish, please. I know our situation is complicated. I know it started as a working relationship, but something changed, at least for me. What changed? I fell in love with you, Emma. I fell in love with the way you care for my children, with the way you taught me to be a father again, with the way you brought joy into this house. Emma was silent for several long seconds. Robert, I feel something different too, but I'm afraid. Afraid of what? Afraid of ruining what we've built. The boys need stability. What if things don't work out between us? What if they get hurt again? Robert moved closer to her. Emma, do you really think I would let anything hurt my children again? Even if things between us didn't work out, you would always be part of their family. How can you be so sure? Because I know you. For 3 years you worked here being nothing but kind and caring to 2 children you thought were blind. You expected nothing in return. You did it because that's who you are. Emma felt her eyes filling with tears. Robert, I'm afraid I'm not enough. You're a successful businessman. You have money, social standing. I'm an educator who worked as a cleaner to support my sick mother. Emma, you saved my children. You taught me how to be a father. You turned our house into a home. How could that not be enough? They were very close now. Robert held her face with both hands. May I kiss you? She nodded, and he kissed her gently. Ah! A joyful shout echoed from the doorway. They quickly separated and saw Ethan and Noah at the office door, jumping with joy. You're dating! Noah shouted. We knew it! We knew it! Ethan added. Robert and Emma laughed. Boys, were you listening behind the door? We came to ask if we could go play in the garden, Ethan explained. But then we heard Dad saying he loves Aunt Emma. And now are you going to get married? Noah asked hopefully. Robert and Emma looked at each other, laughing. Hold on, little ones, Robert said. One thing at a time. But are you going to be together? Ethan insisted. Yes, we are, Emma replied, smiling. If you agree. We agree, they both shouted together. 1 year later, in a small intimate ceremony in the garden of the house, Robert and Emma got married. Ethan and Noah were the ring bearers, proud to finally have a complete family. During the ceremony, the Justice of the Peace made an observation that moved everyone. This marriage is special not just because you love each other, but because it was born from caring for 2 children who needed protection. You built a family based on love, mutual care, and overcoming great challenges. When it came time for the vows, Robert said, Emma, you taught me that being a father isn't just about providing materially. It's about being present, observing, protecting. You saved my children when even I couldn't truly see them. I promise we'll continue building a family based on love and truth. Emma responded, Robert, Ethan, Noah, you taught me that family isn't just about blood. It's about choice, it's about care, it's about being there during difficult times. I promise I'll always protect our family and never let anything bad happen to you. Ethan and Noah were crying with joy. Now will Aunt Emma be our real mom? Noah asked quietly. If you want, Robert answered. We do. 5 years passed. Ethan and Noah, now 12, were completely normal and healthy children. They attended one of the best schools in Los Angeles, had friends, played sports, were curious and cheerful. Their childhood trauma had left some marks. They still had occasional nightmares, still grew anxious when someone talked about blindness, still looked for Emma when they felt insecure. But these were marks that were healing with love and patience. Emma had officially adopted the boys and they called her Mom naturally. She had returned to teaching, but now at a private school where she could apply everything she'd learned about special education. Robert had learned to balance work and family. He was still a successful businessman, but now his priorities were clear. Family always came first. And Margaret? She had been tried and convicted for child abuse and falsifying medical documents. She was serving time in a closed prison. Dr. Harrison, who had forged the medical reports, had also been punished and lost his professional license. But the Anderson-Thompson family had chosen not to live in the past. They had built a new life based on truth, love, and trust. One Saturday afternoon, as Ethan and Noah played in the yard with some friends, Robert and Emma were on the porch watching. "Do you regret anything?" he asked. "Accepting that cleaning job back then? Never. If I hadn't accepted, I never would have met you. And staying here? Building this life with us?" Emma looked at the boys running through the yard, laughing, simply being happy children. "How could I regret the best decision of my life?" "What was the best decision, staying here or marrying me?" "Neither," she answered, smiling. "The best decision was letting that bottle of detergent fall on the floor that day. Everything else was a consequence." Robert laughed. "You're right. If you hadn't dropped it, they'd still be living in that lie. And we never would have become a family." Ethan ran to the porch. "Mom, can I invite Jason to sleep over tonight?" "Of course, sweetheart, but call his mother first to ask permission." "Thank you," he shouted, running back. "Mom," Emma repeated softly, smiling, "I still get emotional when they call me that." "And I still get emotional when they call me Dad without fear," Robert answered. "For a long time, I thought I'd lost the chance to be a real father. You never lost it. You just needed help finding the way." Noah approached the porch. "Dad, Mom, do you want to play soccer with us?" "Of course," they answered together. As they ran to the yard, Emma thought about how life had changed. 5 years earlier, she was a lonely cleaner, worried only about supporting her sick mother. Today, she was mother to 2 amazing boys, wife to a man she loved, and had a career she adored. And it all started with a bottle of detergent falling on the floor. During the improvised soccer game in the yard, while laughing at the goals Ethan scored and at Noah's exaggerated celebrations, Emma thought about a phrase Dr. Rachel had said months before. "Sometimes, life's greatest tragedies make way for life's greatest blessings." Margaret had tried to destroy that family, but ended up being responsible for uniting it in a way that would never have happened naturally. Her cruelty had revealed kindness. Her lie had revealed the truth. Her hatred had made way for love. "Goal!" Noah shouted, running with his arms in the air. "That wasn't a goal. The ball went past the side," Ethan protested. "Yes, it was. Ask Mom." Emma laughed, returning to the present. "It was indeed a goal, Ethan. Accept defeat with dignity." "But Mom..." "No buts. Let's keep playing." Robert approached her. "You know what I sometimes think?" "What?" "That maybe everything happened exactly as it was supposed to." "How so?" "If Margaret hadn't done what she did, I would never have truly paid attention to the boys. I would never have learned to be a father, and I would never have met the amazing woman who had been working in my house for 3 years." "Robert, I know it sounds wrong to say that because the boys suffered a lot, but it was through that suffering that they found true happiness, and so did we." Emma thought about it. It was a strange perspective, but perhaps he was right. "Maybe," she said. "Or maybe it's just life showing us that we can always start over, no matter how much things went wrong in the past." "Dad," Ethan interrupted the philosophical conversation, "it's your turn in goal." "I'm coming, son." As Robert ran to the improvised goal between 2 chairs, Emma kept watching her boys. They were so different from 5 years ago, not just physically, they had grown, of course, but emotionally. They were confident, cheerful, curious about the world. Sometimes they still showed signs of the trauma. Ethan sometimes woke up in the middle of the night, asking to check if the curtains were open. Noah still got nervous when someone mentioned housekeepers or nannies. Both had a special bond with Emma, as if they needed to be sure she would always be there. But these were increasingly rare signs. Healing had happened gradually, with lots of love and patience. "Mom, aren't you going to play?" Noah asked. "Of course I am. Get ready because now you're going to meet the family soccer champion." She ran to the middle of the yard, laughing like a child. That night, after all the boys' friends had left and Ethan and Noah were asleep, Robert and Emma sat on the living room sofa, tired but happy. "You know what I love most about our life," Emma said. "What?" "The normalcy. The fact that our biggest problems now are things like Noah doesn't want to clean his room, or Ethan forgot to do his homework. Normal problems of a normal family. Exactly. After years of trauma and drama, normalcy is a gift." Robert held her hand. "Emma, do you think we did everything right? In raising them, I mean." "Why are you asking that?" "Sometimes I wonder if we shouldn't have handled some things differently, if we shouldn't have looked for more therapists or—" "Robert," she interrupted, "look at them. They're happy. They're healthy. They're normal children with a normal childhood. What more could you want?" "You're right. We did our best with the knowledge we had at the time, and our best was very good." They sat in comfortable silence for a few minutes. "Emma." "Thank you." "For what?" "For everything. For saving my children. For teaching me how to be a father. For agreeing to build this family with me." "Robert, you don't have to thank me. I'm the one who thanks you." "Why are you thanking me?" "For giving me a family. For letting me be a mother to these incredible boys. They're building a beautiful life with me." They kissed gently. "Shall we go to sleep?" he asked. "Tomorrow the boys want to go to the amusement park." "Let's. But first, I'm going to check on them." As she did every night, Emma went upstairs to make sure Ethan and Noah were okay. It was a habit she had developed from the early days, when they still had frequent nightmares. Ethan was sleeping peacefully, with a book about astronomy still open by his bedside. He had developed a passion for the stars, perhaps because for years he couldn't see them. Noah slept hugging a teddy bear he had received from Emma during their first Christmas together. He was still more emotional than his brother, more in need of physical affection. Emma watched them for a few minutes, still marveling at how much they had changed. She remembered the first weeks after the discovery, when they would cry just from seeing too much light. The first times they left the house and became overwhelmed with so many visual stimuli. The sleepless nights, comforting nightmares about Margaret coming back to get them. But she also remembered the magical moments. The first time they saw a sunset and were left speechless. The first time they went to the movies and screamed in surprise at the special effects. The first time they drew something because they had never learned they could draw. These were memories she cherished because they marked the rebirth of those two children. "Good night, my darlings," she whispered, even though she knew they couldn't hear her. In the couple's bedroom, Robert was already in bed, reading some work documents. "How are they?" he asked when she entered. "Sleeping like angels." Ethan fell asleep reading about planets. "And Noah?" "Hugging his teddy bear, as always." Robert smiled and set the papers aside. "Come here." Emma lay down beside him, snuggling into his arms. "Robert, sometimes I think about what our life would have been like if none of this had happened." "How so?" "If Margaret had never done what she did, if the boys had grown up normally, if you had been a present father from the beginning." "And what do you conclude?" "That we probably never would have truly known each other. You would have remained the distant boss, and I would have remained just the cleaning lady. Maybe the boys would have grown up well, but we never would have built this family." Robert thought about it. "That's an interesting perspective, but also a bit disturbing, because it means our happiness came from their suffering." "Not exactly. Our happiness came from overcoming their suffering, from our ability to turn something horrible into something beautiful." You always find a way to see the positive side of things. I learned that from taking care of my mother with Alzheimer's. When you live with something you can't change, you only have two options: become bitter or find ways to extract beauty from the situation. How is Mrs. Patterson, by the way? Better. The new treatment is working. She won't go back to how she was before, but she's more stable. That's good, the boys really like her. And she adores them. Sometimes I think they awaken old memories in her. She becomes more lucid when they're around. Tomorrow, after the park, we can stop by the nursing home to visit her. The boys would love that. They're always excited to show their new drawings to Grandma Patterson. They talked a bit more about the plans for the next day, about work, about small everyday details, normal conversations of a normal couple, something Emma never tired of appreciating. When they finally turned off the light, she stayed awake for a few more minutes, listening to Robert's calm breathing, thinking about how life could completely change course in unexpected ways. 5 years earlier, if someone had told her she would be married to her former boss, mother to 2 children she once thought were blind, living in a mansion in Bel Air, she would have laughed. It sounded like a soap opera plot, not real life. But there she was, living exactly that reality. And it was real. It was her life. It was her family. "Good night, Robert," she whispered. "Good night, love. I love you. I love you too." And it was true. A love that had been born from the most unlikely circumstances, but was real and strong as any other. The next morning, Emma woke up to the sound of giggles coming from the kitchen. She went downstairs and found Ethan and Noah trying to make breakfast for their parents. "Good morning, Mom," they said in unison when they saw her appear. "Good morning, my loves. What are you up to?" "We wanted to make breakfast for you," Ethan explained, "because today is Sunday and you always make a special breakfast on Sunday." "And how's it going?" Noah pointed to the counter, which was covered in flour. "We can't get the pancakes right." Emma laughed. "How about if Mommy helps?" "Yes, please." While she salvaged the burnt pancakes and started a new batch, Robert appeared in the kitchen, still in his pajamas. "Good morning, family." "Daddy, we were making breakfast," Noah announced proudly. "I see. And from the smell, you succeeded." The 4 of them had breakfast together, talking about their plans for the amusement park. The boys were especially excited to ride the new roller coaster that had been installed. "You're not going to be scared?" Emma asked. "No way," Ethan said. "We've ridden all the others." "That's true. You've become roller coaster experts." "Mom, are you going to ride with us?" Noah asked. "Of course, as long as it's not too extreme." "It's not. It's just a little scary." Robert laughed. "Emma, remember the first time we took them to an amusement park?" "I do. They were even scared of the carousel. And now they want to ride the most extreme attractions." "That's growing up," she said, looking at her children fondly. "In every way." At the park, Ethan and Noah ran from attraction to attraction with the endless energy of 12-year-olds. Emma and Robert followed them, sometimes joining in the fun, sometimes just watching and laughing at the boys' exaggerated reactions. On the most extreme roller coaster, Emma watched from below while Robert went with the boys. During the 3 minutes of the ride, she kept thinking about how brave they were. Children who had spent years afraid of the light were now facing any challenge. When they got off the ride, they were euphoric. "Mom, it was amazing," Ethan shouted. "You have to ride it." "Next time is my turn," she promised. "And Daddy, were you scared?" Noah asked, teasing. "Me? Never," Robert lied shamelessly, still a bit pale. They laughed. During lunch at the park's restaurant, a family at the next table caught Emma's attention. It was a couple with 2 young children, and one of the children was clearly being mistreated by the parents. They yelled at her, ignored her, and showed obvious preference for the younger brother. Emma felt her stomach turn, remembering how Ethan and Noah had been emotionally neglected for years, even if in a different way. "Are you okay?" Robert asked, noticing her expression. "I am. It's just, sometimes my heart aches when I see children being mistreated." He followed her gaze and understood. "Do you want to leave?" "No need. It just makes me appreciate even more what we have." Ethan, who had overheard the conversation, took Emma's hand. "Mum, are you sad?" "No, my love. I was just thinking about how lucky we are to be a happy family." "We really are," Noah agreed. "We're the happiest family in the world." "That's true," Robert said. "Yes, we are." In the afternoon, they visited Mrs. Patterson at the nursing home. Emma's mother was having a good day. She recognized everyone, talked normally, laughed at the stories Ethan and Noah told about the park. "Emma," she said when they were saying goodbye, "you did the right thing taking care of these children. They needed you." "Thank you, Mom. And they did you good too. You're much happier now." Emma smiled. Even with Alzheimer's, her mother still had moments of clarity and wisdom. "I really am, Mom. Much more." In the car, on the way home, Ethan asked an unexpected question. "Mom, Dad, do you want to have more kids?" Robert almost crashed the car. "Why are you asking that?" "Because it would be cool to have a little brother or sister," Noah explained. "Don't you think we're already a complete family as we are?" Emma asked. "Yes, we are," Ethan said quickly. "But it would be fun to teach things to a baby." "Like what?" "Like to see colors. We've never taught anyone to see colors." The simplicity of the answer touched Emma's heart. For Ethan and Noah, teaching someone to see would be the most natural thing in the world. "It's a possibility," Robert said, looking at Emma in the rearview mirror. "What do you think?" "It would be amazing," they both answered together. That night, after the boys fell asleep, Robert and Emma talked about their question. "Do you want to have biological children?" he asked. "I never thought much about it, to be honest. Ethan and Noah filled my life so much that I didn't feel the lack. But it would be different. Experiencing pregnancy, seeing our child being born, it would be different, yes, but not necessarily better." "What do you mean?" "Robert, I don't love the boys any less because I didn't carry them in my belly. They are my children in every way that matters. I know, I feel the same way. I was just thinking that it might be an interesting experience. Do you want to have another child?" "Only if you want to, and only if it doesn't affect our current family." "Nothing will affect our family," Emma said with certainty. "We're too strong for that now." "So is that a yes?" "It's a let's think about it calmly. We're still young, we have time to decide." "I agree. It doesn't have to be an immediate decision." But the seed was planted. In the following months, both began to pay more attention to babies, to families with more children, to their own feelings when they imagined a third member in the family. Ethan and Noah continued to bring up the subject occasionally, always naturally and without pressure. "If you have a baby, who will he look like?" Ethan asked one day. "We don't know, sweetheart. Babies sometimes look like the father, sometimes like the mother, sometimes like both." "And if it's a girl?" "Then you'll have a little sister." "That would be cool. We've never had a sister." Noah joined the conversation. "And if the baby is born with some problem?" The question took Emma by surprise. "What kind of problem, sweetheart?" "I don't know. Like we thought we had a problem seeing." "Oh, I see. Well, if the baby is born with some disability, we'll love him just the same and take care of him the best we can." "Just like you took care of us?" "Exactly the same." "Then it's okay." The naturalness with which they treated the subject impressed Emma. For them, taking care of someone special wasn't a burden, it was just love. 6 months later, Emma found out she was pregnant. It was on a Tuesday morning. She had been waking up feeling sick for a few days and finally decided to take a test. When she saw the positive result, she stood in the bathroom for several minutes, just processing the information. A baby, a biological child, a new adventure for the family. She went down to the kitchen, where Robert was having coffee and reading the newspaper, while Ethan and Noah finished their snack before school. "Robert," she said, trying to keep her voice normal, "can I talk to you for a minute?" "Of course." "Boys, grab your backpacks. It's almost time." When they were alone in the kitchen, Emma showed him the test. Robert looked again, and a huge smile spread across his face. "Really? Really?" He kissed her and hugged her, spinning her around in the kitchen. "We're going to have a baby." "We are." "And the boys? They're going to be over the moon. Should we tell them tonight?" "Let's." That night after dinner, they called Ethan and Noah for a talk in the living room. "Boys, we have some news to share with you," Robert began. "What news?" Ethan asked, curious. "Very special news," Emma continued. "Do you remember when you asked if we wanted to have more children?" "We do," both said together. "Well, it turns out you're going to have a little brother or sister." There was a moment of total silence, and then they both burst into shouts of joy. "Really?" Noah yelled. "For real?" Ethan added. "Really for real," Robert confirmed. "Mommy is expecting a baby." They ran to hug Emma, carefully touching her still flat stomach. "Is it in there?" Ethan asked, amazed. "Yes, it is. Still very tiny, but growing." "And when will it be born?" Noah wanted to know. "In about 7 months. That's a long time. It'll pass quickly, you'll see." "And do you already know if it's a boy or a girl?" Ethan asked. "Not yet. It's too early to tell." "And what do you want?" Robert and Emma looked at each other. "We just want it to be healthy," she replied. "Boy or girl, it doesn't matter." "I want it to be a girl," Noah said, "so we can have a sister." "I want it to be a boy," Ethan disagreed. "To play soccer with us." "Hey," Emma laughed. "Who says girls don't play soccer?" "That's true. Girls play too." "Then it doesn't matter," Noah agreed. "The important thing is that it's born soon." During Emma's pregnancy, Ethan and Noah became the most attentive future brothers in the world. They helped with everything at home, caressed her belly every night, talked to the baby. "Hi, little brother," Ethan would say, pressing his ear to Emma's belly. "I'm Ethan. When you're born, I'll teach you how to play soccer." "And I'm Noah," the other added. "I'll teach you how to read and draw." "You're going to be amazing big brothers," Emma always said. When they found out it would be a girl, they got even more excited. "A sister," Noah celebrated. "We'll have to protect her from all the boys at school." "Hold on," Robert laughed. "She hasn't even been born yet and you're already making plans for her teenage years." "It's just that we've never had a sister," Ethan explained. "It's going to be very special." And it really was special. Lily Jennifer was born on a spring morning, healthy and perfect. Robert had chosen the name in honor of his first wife, with Emma's full approval. When Ethan and Noah saw her for the first time at the hospital, it was emotional. "She's so tiny," Ethan whispered, afraid of waking her. "And so perfect," Noah added. "Look at her little hands." "Do you want to hold her?" Emma asked. They took turns holding their little sister, with the care of someone holding something very precious. "Hi, Anna," Ethan said softly. "I'm your brother Ethan. I love you very much." "And I'm Noah," the other whispered. "We'll take care of you forever." The baby slept peacefully in their arms, as if she knew she was completely safe. Robert watched the scene with tears in his eyes. 10 years earlier, he was a broken man, thinking he had lost everything. Today, he had a beautiful, complete family. "Emma," he said softly, "thank you." "For what?" "For making this possible, for saving my children, for giving me a family." "We saved each other," she replied, "and now we have this little princess to complete our happiness." Lily Jennifer adapted perfectly to the family. Ethan and Noah took turns helping with her, always wanting to be part of her care. Emma had returned from maternity leave, but was working fewer hours to spend more time with her daughter. Robert had delegated even more responsibilities at the company, prioritizing family more and more. "You know what I think?" Emma said one night while breastfeeding Lily and watching Ethan and Noah playing in the next room. "What?" "That we're proof that families can be formed in many different ways. It doesn't all have to be natural or planned to be perfect." "How so?" "Look at us. You and I met in a professional situation. Ethan and Noah aren't my biological children, but they're my children of the heart. Lily is our biological daughter, but she's also their chosen sister." Mrs. Patterson became a grandmother to all three, even without blood ties to 2 of them. "That's true. Our family is a bit atypical, but it's ours, and it's perfect for us." Lily started crying, and Ethan appeared in the doorway. "Mom, can I help calm her down?" "Of course, sweetheart." He sat next to Emma and began singing softly to his sister, the same lullaby Emma had sung to him years before, when they still thought he was blind. The baby calmed down immediately. "She likes your voice," Emma said, moved. "It's because we're a real family," Ethan replied simply. And it was true. They were a real family. A family that had been born from unlikely circumstances, grown through immense challenges, and become stronger with every obstacle overcome. 2 years later, on a Sunday afternoon, the Anderson-Thompson family was gathered in the garden for a small celebration. It was the 10th anniversary of the discovery that changed their lives forever. Ethan and Noah, now 14-year-old teenagers, were playing with Lily, who was running around the garden on her 2-year-old legs. Emma was pregnant again, an unplanned but very welcome pregnancy. Robert was preparing a barbecue. Mrs. Patterson was there too, in a wheelchair. Her Alzheimer's had progressed, but she still had moments of clarity and loved being with the family. "You know what I was thinking," Emma said to Robert, watching the children. "What?" "That today makes exactly 10 years since I dropped that bottle of detergent." 10 years, he repeated thoughtfully. "Feels like a whole lifetime." And it is. It's our whole lifetime. Ethan approached them. "What are you talking about?" "About the day everything changed," Emma explained. "The day we found out you could see." "Oh, that. We remember." "You really remember?" "Of course. It was the most important day of our lives." Noah appeared carrying Lily in his arms. "It was the day we stopped being afraid," he said. "And the day we got a real family," Ethan finished. "But you don't remember being afraid of me, do you?" Emma asked Lily, tickling the girl. "No," Lily laughed. "I love Mommy." "And I love you too, my princess." Robert stopped the barbecue for a moment and joined the group. "Family," he said, using the solemn tone he used for special toasts. "Today we complete 10 years of a new life. 10 years since we discovered our family was based on a lie, but that discovery led us to a much more beautiful truth." "What truth, Daddy?" Lily asked, even without fully understanding. "The truth that family is about choice. It's about love. It's about mutual care. And you four are the family I would choose in any life, in any circumstance." "We chose you too," Ethan said, speaking for himself and his brother. "Always," Noah finished. They all hugged together, a chaotic and beautiful mix of ages, stories, and dreams. "And the baby that's on the way?" Emma asked, touching her 5-month belly. "He's chosen too," Lily declared, with the seriousness only 2-year-olds can muster. Everyone laughed. "It's decided then," Robert said. "We're a family that chooses each other every day." "Every single day," Emma agreed. And it was true. 10 years after a discovery that could have destroyed everything, they had built something stronger, more beautiful, and more genuine than any traditional family could ever be. Because they had learned that family isn't just about blood or circumstances. It's about choice. It's about staying together when everything could fall apart. It's about turning the greatest difficulties into the greatest blessings. And about letting a bottle of detergent fall at just the right moment, when 2 children needed to be truly seen for the first time in their lives. End of story. Now tell me what you thought of this story. Do you think Emma made the right choice by staying and helping the family? And Robert, do you think he redeemed himself as a father? Leave your honest opinion in the comments. I love hearing what you all think about these uplifting stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other heartwarming stories like this one.